Welcome to Golf Talk. I'm your host, Pat White. Today we have a very, very special guest. We're going to have a player tip. We're also going to have an operations and a maintenance update and what's in store at Tenassi. Stay tuned. Welcome to Golf Talk. I'm your host, Pat White. Joining me today is Casey Flenniken, our Director of Golf, and Wells McClure, our Director of Maintenance. Casey, I've been waiting 3 weeks for this question.
Okay.
I track my shots into greens, long and short. Not worried about left and right. I don't even think I'm up to 1% long. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, you're not alone in that boat, Pat. I think that a lot of amateur golfers maybe have a false sense of how far that they hit their clubs. You'll see golf professionals. The first thing I do when I go up to any shot is I look and I assess the lie. Is it sitting decent? If it's sitting decent, okay, normal shot. If it's sitting bad, I'm taking an extra club. Just because I know I might get a little turf interaction before I hit the ball. So there's step one. Step two, what's the wind doing? Am I downwind? Am I into the wind? If I'm downwind, the ball's going to travel further. And if I'm into the wind, the ball's going to go shorter, right? So as we take those kind of factors, then I want to make sure that I have a true understanding of how far I hit each club. So for you, Pat, I think a lot of players, they hit a 7-iron one time, it goes 160, and they think, okay, I hit my 7-iron 160, but where'd that ball land? It might have landed at 140 and then rolled to the back of the green, right? So the last factor that goes into that, Pat, is where is the flag on the green? So I think a lot of people think that professional golfers and really good amateur players are just firing at flags, right? Oh, flag's there, I'm going at it. And that's not true. If the flag is on the front of the green, the worst mistake you can make is to miss short of the green.
Right.
So if the average green, how deep's the average green? 35, 40 steps?
Yeah, maybe. So, yeah.
Depending on how it sits,
on the green, yeah.
right? So if it's 30 steps deep, right, then what that's giving us, that's 30 yards. If the flag's 5 yards on the front, then we've got 25 yards behind the flag. How many club difference is 25 yards?
Could be 2 or 3.
2 to 3 clubs, 2.5 clubs, right? And so if you said, I'm at 120 yards, I'm going to hit this 130, well, you're gonna hit it 10 yards past the flag. That's 30 feet, right? So I don't always go at flags. I do play aggressively, and by aggressive I mean I pick smart targets and I swing aggressively to that target. You with me? So sometimes that target's in the middle of the green.
Right.
Forget about where the flag is. I'd say more players would play better if we just took the flag sticks out and they didn't know where they were and they had to hit it to the middle of the green and then they just putted.
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm going to hit to the distance I think the ball lands, but now I'm thinking I don't always hit that average.
Yep.
Chances are, as an amateur player, I'm going to hit below my average or hit below what I think it is, then longer.
Sure.
Correct?
That's correct.
So I should add a little bit too?
Absolutely.
Or what should I do?
That goes back to playing smart. So let's go with it the other way. If it's in the back of the green, the flag's in the back of the green. Pick a club that you know you're not going to hit past that flag and be okay with hitting it 30 feet short.
Okay.
Right? How can you figure out how far your clubs go? We have TrackMan technology here in the village. There's one at Kahiti, there's one at Tokwa. Both facilities have driving ranges. We have 7 great golf professionals in this village who can take that TrackMan, set you up, and within 30 minutes you're going to know exactly how far every club goes. They'll send you a report that you can print out, and you will know what your average shot. Have you hit 6 or 7 shots with each club, and all of a sudden you've got this report, and when you go play golf, now you know this is how far my 7-iron goes in the air. Right? It's not how far it rolls, it's in the air. If you're traveling over a bunker, you need to travel in the air, not how far it rolls out.
So really and truly, at that point, if I can correct my short, end up on the green, I've got 2 strokes to get in the hole versus a chip and 2 strokes to get in.
That's correct.
So I got a better chance at a par than a bogey.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not even about making par, it's about not making double bogey.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Wells, we missed you last month. John North did a great job taking for you, but I'm curious, a lot of people I've talked to, why'd you go to Washington, D.C.? How'd you get chosen? What do you do? Tell us about your trip.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity. I got asked to go by the Tennessee Golf Course Superintendents Association. They picked 3 superintendents from across the state, one from Middle, East, and West Tennessee, and then also went with us was a sod producer and a chemical salesman.
Okay.
So there was a group of 5 of us from Tennessee. We joined 208 other turfgrass professionals from across the country. I think they had 39 states represented there. And we went to meet with members of Congress or their staff. And, you know, kind of to tee it up, kick it off, we talked about the economic impact of golf, the charitable impact of golf. Golf courses in the United States in 2022 had, there were 16 million people that attended a philanthropic event at a golf course, raising over $4.6 billion.
Wow.
So golf is a huge part of the economy in each state, as a matter of fact. And, you know, that kind of allowed us an in to talk about some of these issues that we wanted to talk about. So there's 3 main issues that we were there advocating for. One was to modernize the U.S. tax code. So the U.S. tax code was written in 1976, and there was a list of businesses or industries that would be excluded from any sort of federal aid if a natural disaster had occurred. You know, liquor stores, casinos, and golf courses were on that list.
Oh.
So, you know, think if we had a major tornado outbreak in the village and they decided it was a natural disaster, our golf courses would receive zero funding to help restore these golf courses. And part of that, I think, is probably when this was written. Golf courses in the 70s were mostly high-end, private. They probably figured, well, you know, the members got plenty of money. Well, there's like 17,000 golf courses in the U.S., 10,000 of them or more are public.
Right.
A lot of municipalities. So, you know, if you enjoy playing golf at a municipal golf course or a daily fee course and it gets destroyed by a tornado or hurricane or something, they might not have the funds to come out of it. And their best option may be to sell it and build condos. Right. And now you have, you lose the green space, you lose, you know, where folks can go and recreate, exercise, things like that. So we were there to try to get golf off of this list of industries. And not only that, you think of the charitable impact. I'm not sure how much casinos raise for charity, but or liquor stores or any of these other that are on that list.
We have tournaments almost monthly, don't we, Casey?
We do.
Yeah. What'd you say? 24 charity events in the village, just in the village alone. So, you know, that was a big part of it. The second issue was trying to get turfgrass research back on the Farm Bill. So in 2018, I believe $3 million of the Farm Bill was dedicated to turfgrass research. That was taken off when it was rewritten in 2020, I believe. And we're trying to get $5 million allocated back towards turfgrass research. That'll be divvied up to different universities, and that can help fund research for new turfgrass varieties, you know, things that can help the environment. One turfgrass variety that's come out is Tiftuff. It's actually a variety that we put on our golf courses, and it was developed through some of this turfgrass research that came out of the Farm Bill. There's a new variety of zoysia grass that's actually going in down in Chattanooga at the new club at McClure. It's called Stadium Zoysia. It's being used in parts of Arizona now that are typically those courses are overseeded with ryegrass. And when we were out there for our conference, John North toured a course called Desert Highlands, really nice high-end club. But they overseed everything in the winter, and they estimate they use about 140 million gallons of water a year to, you know, keep that ryegrass alive through the summer months and even through the winter, you know. But this Stadium Zoysia grass, they're going to try to transition to that. It's a great surface. It's a really fine textured zoysia. It's not like what's around the greens at Tanassi. If you're standing on it, you almost wouldn't even know it was a zoysia grass. But they estimate that it could save 40 million gallons a year. So that's another variety that came out of some of this turfgrass research. And the last issue that we were talking about was this, it's called the FIT Act. So it's a way for Americans, if you qualify, you can use up to $1,000 per person or $2,000 per household of HSA and FSA funds to help pay for healthy activities, whether it be health classes or yoga or even golf, or even, you know, equipment that may be needed for some of that. So I think they said that we spent around $4.7 trillion on healthcare in 2022. And when you compare that to the GDP, it's like 16% of the GDP. So anything that they can do to promote a healthy lifestyle, get people out, get people exercising, hopefully you know, it's not as big of a burden on our healthcare system on the back end. So I was just going to say a lot of those were issues that we're pushing for, and they're fun, and they're meeting with folks to talk about. Unfortunately, a lot of the talk that we got was it's an election year, so they're not sure how much will get done, but it's on the table, and you know, we'll go back next year, and it was fun. And then so that was on day 2. Day 3 was all of us got together and we had different community service projects to do around the National Mall. So we laid sod, did mulch, did cherry tree plantings around George Mason and the Jefferson Memorial. Awesome. So that was.
You don't hear of lobbyists leaving D.C. having enhanced the community.
Yeah. I'd say there's rarely 300 lobbyists that get out and lay mulch and plant trees. And in fact, it was funny, you know, a bunch of turf grass professionals were used to working in the elements. And so thankfully the whole day we were walking around, going to the Senate building and the House and everything. It was nice. We were in suits. But the day that we got up to do our community service project, it rained the whole time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, most people wouldn't want to do it, but, you know, we work in the rain.
Yep.
It's not a big deal. But it was fun. It was a really good opportunity.
That's good
Very
stuff.
good.
Yep.
Casey, how about giving us an operations update and your calendar of events?
Absolutely. So our rounds, we like to talk about last year because that was our banner year.
Right.
In 2023, we had the most rounds we've ever played with 116,000. And so to this point, we were about 2,000 rounds behind last year.
Right.
But to me, that's really good. Right? Last year was an incredible weather year. May we still beat round counts, round budgets, and we had about 11 inches of rain on average across the 3 golf courses. So we hosted the Greater Knoxville Amateur at Tokwa Golf Club. That was a weekend event. We played the library outing in the morning, and then we put the Greater Knoxville Amateur between 12 and 2 p.m. I did 2 things. One, that allowed us to still host that library event, but also the best amateurs in our area.
Right.
But 2, 12 to 2 are slower times, so
Yeah.
it allows us to maximize revenue and get outside guests in and help keep those golf fees down by allowing them on our golf courses. And then our final event that we had, our major event, was the Tennessee Golf Association. Tokwa also, again, hosted the senior and super senior 4-ball, which is a 2-person team competing, use their best score against another team.
Right.
And, you know, that they estimate that gave us over 28,000 social media impressions. And we gave them an invoice, right? So that's pretty good when you're handing out invoices and they're giving you free marketing. So it was a great event. Looking forward, we'll have our Red-tailed Hawk Invitational, which our men's member guest event. We've got the 22nd at Tokwa is Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. That's a huge event in Tellico Village. You'll see a lot of those animals around Tellico Village, restaurants, out walking. And then the 29th at Tanassi is the VGA. That's the Veteran Golfers Association. We love to see those men
Never
and
heard
women.
of them before.
Yep, the VGA, Veteran Golfers Association, they'll play at Tanassi. They actually play 36 holes that day.
Wow.
You'll see lots of men and women who have served, and super
Very
great
good.
to have them.
Very good.
So we're looking forward to July as we move forward, and it's hard to believe we're halfway done with the year, but the golf courses, I like to give a lot of praise to these guys. That their golf courses are tremendous, not only just villagers, but people outside of Tellico Village. After these tournaments are over, these amateurs are like, I had no idea how good these golf courses were.
I was going to bring that up. I kind of mingled in with the Tennessee Golf Association group that was playing at Tokwa, and to listen to what they were saying, I mean, it was almost like they were describing a course I'd never seen before.
Yep.
They were just totally impressed with Tokwa.
Absolutely. And Tokwa, Kahiti, Tanassi, all 3 golf courses in the village. I mean, what's the number one thing in my mind that a better player, for sure, that I worry about when I'm going somewhere is, are the greens good?
Right.
That's the number one thing I worry about. Are the greens aerified? Are the greens fast? Are they firm? Are they slow? Are they wet? Right? You want to know those answers because that dictates everything for me, even approach shots, right? So when you have greens with healthy turf like we do, that play as well as we do, and then you go from the green all the way to the tee, and it's just in tremendous shape. So kudos. It's pretty awesome.
So Wells, Casey just brought up the condition of all 3 courses, but one of them in particular, 2 of them survived the winter really well. One of them took a pretty good hit.
Yep.
And there are some situations at Kahiti that are brown in the fairway, and we've talked before about if it's brown, walk around.
Right.
What's going on at Kahiti? What are some of the resolution, immediate, long term?
Yeah.
Can you help us out or describe for us?
Yeah, so I mean, it seems like a long time ago, but January 15th was when we got that big snow event in the village. And in the main part of the village, it started at 9 o'clock that morning, and it snowed all day long, into the night, most of the next day. We ended up with 10 inches, just solid 10 inches of snow. I've been in the village for 13 years, and I've never seen that much snow. We were fortunate. We had snow starting out, and it snowed all day. I remember talking with Jordan, and Josh Gunner, his assistant, actually lives out there, and what's it doing out there? And Josh was like, it's kind of raining, it's kind of sleeting, it's not really snowing yet. And I live in Maryville, and we had a little bit of the same. It finally turned to snow in Maryville, that 15th, that afternoon. But Kahidi got probably a quarter to a half inch of ice prior to maybe 2-3 inches of snow that sat on top of that ice. And then the next day or two, we got some nice bright sunshine, real high skies, and a little bit of that snow melted at Tanasi and Tokwa and at Kahidi, but Tanasi it melted from the top down. So after day 2, it was 8 inches of snow, and then it was 5, and it seemed like it stuck around for a week. I think it probably did. But Kahidi, that they had that layer of ice, and then they had a little bit of snow on top. Well, that snow melted onto that layer of ice, and then I think on the night of the 16th or the 17th, it got down to like 6 degrees. And then it stayed below freezing for the next 3 days. So where we had a nice blanket of snow, no ice underneath, we even uncovered a few areas on greens just to kind of see, and it was just snow all the way down to the green surface. And Kahidi had ice for 3 or 4 days. And the problem too is a lot of the areas at Kahidi, maybe it melted and drained. Well, we all know Kahidi kind of does this. The lowest spot in the fairway is in the middle. That's also where everyone drives. So that area is probably already a little stressed going into the winter, a lot of high traffic, and then you get all this ice that sits there for 4, 5, 6 days probably. So it was just a combination of things that led to some of the issues at Kahidi. Jordan and his staff are doing everything they can possibly do to push it. We've had university professors from UT come out, and they kind of dug around and determined that what was in the fairways they felt like would come back. They looked at the rhizomes, looked at the stolons, looked at the roots, and it still seemed like there was viable life, but the crown of the plant was damaged, and that's why you see a lot of that brown on the surface. And it's hard to notice a difference when you're there every day looking at it, but Jordan's got pictures of the progression from mid-April when we kind of put the article out and told him what we were dealing with to now. And I mean, 18 fairway looked really bad in April, and I saw a picture in the latest GAC that's up on the website now, the GAC slides, and it's gotten a lot better. And it's gotten better when we really haven't had Bermuda grass weather. All week last week, my guys were wearing sweatshirts in the morning. The last 2 or 3 mornings, it's been in the 50s. Right. So we really haven't even hit peak Bermuda grass season yet. Thankfully, for our Bermuda grass, we've got 90s and 70s coming for the next, 10 days. So I really think that, by our next Golf Talk episode, we'll have some really nice updates, hopefully some really nice pictures to put in there. And Jordan's, they're spot aerifying, they're spiking these areas to try and get some oxygen down to the roots. They're fertilizing, they're staying off of them, putting traffic controls out. So again,
well, that's one of the things we can do to be a good steward is, again, your term, if it's brown, walk around, do our best to stay off of it.
That's right,
Don't
go around it.
Use it as a ground in repair, visualize a white line around it, move it to a good, healthy grassed area.
Absolutely. I think if Kahidi's doing 150 rounds a day, and it's easy to say, well, it'll just be me, I'm not going to hurt it. Well, if everybody thinks that way, then eventually they're going to damage the turf, So definitely no golf carts on it. We switched Kahidi from teeing off the front 9. Everybody's, when we're single tee days, are going off number 10 right now, just to limit the amount of, because we got a lot of 9-hole play, so limit the amount of people that are on the front 9, which seems to have taken a little bit more damage. But just do your part. Let Mother Nature, as Will said, you're about to get into the 90s and 70s, 90s in the day, 70s at night, and just let Mother Nature do its part, and Jordan and his team will have that place shining by fall.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate that we got the snow, because if we had the same conditions in the main village that Kahidi got, we would all be looking at this.
Yes.
Well,
it's
and
not unique
there's
to
spots
Kahidi.
on all 3 courses, well, the other 2 courses, that have pretty severe winter kill because of certain conditions.
Yeah. There's a lot of courses south of us that had to close. They closed the entire golf course down. Well said, 20.
There's a guy that I'm friends with in North Mississippi, in his golf course, they've put down 17 truckloads of sod. Truckload. That's 18 pallets on a truck.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're getting it in big rolls. They're not doing it on pallets, but his golf course just got absolutely devastated.
Right.
So, yeah, it is what it is. It's hard to look at, especially when you go from Tokwa to Kahidi. But in the grand scheme of things, it could have been a lot worse.
Yep.
Right.
So,
Well, I, for one, will cut Jordan some slack and smile and say thank you for a job well done
Agreed.
absolutely.
till the Bermuda starts growing again.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. It's
Okay.
coming.
So, to both of you, today, the filming date today is Wednesday, June the 12th. Is that correct?
Yep.
I understand Tanasi demolition was supposed to start or will start today. That to me is going to be the start of a very inconvenient couple of years. And it starts today.
Yep.
On this episode of Golf Talk, we have no idea what the construction is going to be, when it's going to start, how much it's going to be, but we know that the inconvenience starts with the demolition.
Yep.
What should we expect? Trying to run an operation, trying to run the maintenance, play golf, and park while they're demoing a building.
Yeah, so I think that the running the operation part, we've already gone through the big inconvenience, right? Still a hats off to the Tanasi golf shop staff who for 8 months were in that snack shack, right? But now that we do have the modular and the temporary cart barn, as Wells and I work through this together, we're going to really depend on that general contractor to tell us, hey, okay, on this day we're going to need this many parking slots, and is that going to affect parking? Because if it does, then I need to go in and block off some tee times because we can't have all those players.
So right now, we have a few extra parking slots where the drive-through used to be at Tanasi.
That's correct. That's correct.
Those are going to have to go away.
Yeah, however much space they need, we're going to have to block that off and really play it by ear. You know, as you come, it might turn into pick up your friend before you play day, right?
Please.
Carpool, yeah, absolutely. We always encourage that in the entire village,
Yeah.
right? But definitely Tanasi is going to run into that problem, and we're going to have to monitor it very closely. And, you know, what's that going to look like? When are they going to move towards Wells's putting greens and allow for more parking over there? So as we find out more, we will definitely share it. This is a great avenue to learn that. We can continue to talk about it. We'll publish it to all our golfers. We'll put it in the Telegram. But we are prepared to do what we need to do to continue to keep the Tanasi golf operation alive.
Right. And it is going to be frustrating. And it's going to be aggravating. And from any Monday that you play at Tanasi, Wednesday could be a different setup.
Yeah, that's right.
But we're going to try to keep you informed.
Yep.
But you have to read the emails,
That's right. You got to read it.
and you got to read the telegrams, and you got to keep up with it, or call the golf shop.
That's fine too.
Or
yeah.
you got your X account.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
A lot of different ways to communicate.
Yep. And
Okay.
on the tee sheet, we're going to just mark those golf tee times when we block them. It's going to say construction.
Right.
Tell the truth. Why can't I get that time? Construction.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
So-
good idea. Earlier today, we had the opportunity to sit down with a special guest, Chuck James, who updated us on the history of our golf courses and the Audubon International certification. Please watch. Today, we're joined by Wells McClure, Tellico Village Director of Maintenance on our golf, and we're our special, very special guest, I'm sorry, Chuck, very special guest, Chuck James. And Chuck and I have gone back a number of years, and we're going to ease into why he's our special guest today. So, Chuck, tell us about your association with the Bluebird Society, the clubs, and what you did there.
Well, thanks, Pat, very much for having me today. It started back in 2011 when a man came to our bird club and said he was monitoring nest boxes on Tokwa. And he was getting too old to do it, and he wondered if our club would monitor the bird boxes. And I said, yeah, I'll take on that project, no problem. And so we started monitoring the 30 boxes on Tokwa. I went to then the director of golf, Jim West, and asked him if we could put together a nest box trail on Tanasi and Kahidi, and he said, great, that's no problem at all. So the following year we put 30 boxes on Tanasi, and the following year after that we put 18 boxes down at Kahidi.
Okay.
Since then we've put nest boxes all over the community. We have about 100 nest boxes. You see them up by the Wellness Center, over by the community church and the Baptist church. And that really started something, because in 2013 I went to the North American Bluebird Society meeting in Aiken, South Carolina, and hooked up with a gentleman named Farrell Roll. And we realized that Tennessee did not have an affiliate to the North American Bluebird Society, so we started one.
Okay.
And I'm happy to say, 11 years later, we have over 500 members, 7 chapters. And one of those chapters is located right here in Tellico Village.
Outstanding.
The Valley chapter, and we have about 90 members, and those members build nest boxes. Chuck Cruikshank is the main builder of nest boxes, and he is also the coordinator for monitoring all of the nest boxes on our golf courses and community, and we have probably 30, 40 people that do the monitoring. And
Okay.
all that data is sent to Cornell University to their lab of ornithology for research.
Okay, so this is not just a hobby, this is also research along with the hobby.
Absolutely.
And so getting into why you're our special guest, so this goes along Bluebird monitoring boxes. You opened one up one day and you found,
Yeah,
What?
in 2016, I was monitoring the Tokwa Trail, and I went up to a nest box, I knocked on it, and nobody flew out. So I opened up the box, and there was a Carolina chickadee, and she was sitting on the nest, but she wasn't moving. And sometimes they freeze up, but she wasn't moving at all, so I poked her a little bit. I poked her harder, and she fell off the nest, and it was obvious she was dead, and she was sitting on 6 eggs, and that was very disturbing to me. So I just couldn't figure out what happened. I thought, did she get into some kind of chemicals on the golf course or somebody's yard? What was going on? So after I completed my observations of the other nest boxes on the golf course, I went home and started looking on the internet of why a Carolina chickadee would just be dead on a nest.
so then your research then leads you to what the golf courses could do in terms of ecology, even though this chickadee you later found did not pass away because of anything the golf course or a neighbor did, or there was another animal, there wasn't another animal involved. So apparently we had a chickadee that passed away from old age as far as we know.
We don't know what happened to that
Okay,
chickadee.
so now you decide, wait a second, I'm in the Bluebird, there's a chickadee that's passed away, I do the research, and now you go to Wells, but at the time it was Jim West, who was also director of maintenance, and you started to ask for what?
Well, what happened was when I was investigating on the internet, I found this certification program called Audubon International Sanctuary Certification for golf courses. And it was a big project to get golf course certified, and I wondered if our golf courses and our superintendents would be interested in getting involved in a project like this. So
Were they?
I went to our director of golf, Jim West, and he said, sounds like a good idea. And I looked at all the pages of answers and questions and everything. We had 60 pages of
Per course.
per course
Yeah.
of regulations and questions and so forth and so on. And I thought, boy, I don't think the superintendents are going to go for this at all. But I went to Jim West, talked to him and talked to the superintendents, and they were all for it, which was really surprising and very, very happy to hear.
Now Audubon then tells you in that certification process that you can expect that this is going to take how long?
It will take 3 years, on an average 3 years. Some courses get it done in 2 years, but the typical length of time per course is 3 years.
And the folks that were working, as Wells was then a course superintendent, but through Jim West, the 3 superintendents, his staff, they did it in how many years?
Did it in 1 year.
3 courses.
3 courses in 1 year. We started in February, we had our certification in December. Audubon International said they'd never seen cooperation like that before.
So now we have a massive, well, you guys don't have a massive number of people, but you have a skilled group of people. You have a guy pushing for something. You have a boss, Jim West, saying, let's do it. You do this by yourself, or did we have other villagers involved?
No, we had many villagers involved.
Yeah, I
we
thought
had coordinators. We put 2 coordinators on each course. We had Sarah Havens and Jan Smith
Yep.
down at Kahidi. We had Chuck Cruikshank and Kristen Farrington
Yep.
for Tokwa, and Tim Piles and Stan Colburn for
Yep.
Tenasseee.
Yep.
And those coordinators would help the superintendents as we went through the different various questions, gathering information, and compiling everything. So it was that group, and later on we got others involved. We had 12 people on our committee.
So then you also had photographers involved. You had water, which we hope
We-
to get on this program one day.
We had the water group, we had photographers, we had the golf advisory group, we had the Tennessee Bluebird Society, the garden club was involved, and the Tellico Community Foundation was involved. They helped with the financing of the signs that
Yeah.
you see by the naturalized areas.
Question for you, Wells.
Yeah.
Why in heaven's name would you want to take on this extra work on your golf courses?
Well, I think, for us, when I started in 2011, we knew that we had far too much acreage on these golf courses that were being maintained, watered, fertilized. Not only does that take time and resources, but it takes away from areas of the golf course that you need to focus on. So we knew that if we wanted to naturalize some areas, natural areas on golf courses they're across the board, across the country. Most every golf course has low maintenance natural areas. In fact, there's only one course in the top 100 that doesn't, and that's Augusta National. Of course, if you've been there, there's no tall grass at
No need
Augusta.
for it, is
No,
there?
it's pine straw beds, azaleas, and low mowed ryegrass. But we knew we needed to do it, and it gave us a little bit of ammunition. When we were trying to take some areas out of maintenance, we knew that if we had this certification, it would help us kind of push those areas in and allow us to have a little bit in our pocket saying, like, this is why we're doing it. I'm an outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish, always have since I was a kid, and I like to see wildlife on the golf course.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt the more low maintenance or unmaintained areas you have, you're going to have more wildlife. You're going to have more deer, squirrels, rabbits. Mice come with it, but with mice come hawks and birds of prey. So it's the right thing to do. The golf course is not just for golfers. It is a
Helps
green
in
space.
Drainage too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you're
runoff.
not having heavy sheeting water off,
Yep.
erosion.
Yep, like 90% of our lake and pond banks have natural areas around them, which provides a buffer for anything that may be draining towards that area. For us, we knew it was the right thing to do, and it also helps frame the hole. There's no need to mow an area way back behind a green or back around a tee complex, and if you can frame that in with some tall grass, it looks really, really nice.
Speaking of lake, you just mentioned that, and it brought up, you had to have a lot of testing done of the water you're putting on the golf courses and the water that runs off the golf. Both had to be tested extensively, correct?
That's correct.
And that recertification, Chuck, is it just a rubber stamp that every year you stamp it and you're recertified?
No, every 3 years they come out and go through our documentation and make sure that we're still doing best practices and keeping up, and really improving and seeing how many more acres we can naturalize and so forth.
You just added some into Tenasseee, didn't you?
Yeah, number 6 at Tenasseee was an area, again, big area in front of the tee box that we were mowing and maintaining, and it's an area that doesn't get much cart traffic, so it grows a lot. So not only are you mowing it, you're watering it, you're having to blow the clippings. We don't like having clippings out on the golf course. It just doesn't present very well. So yeah, that's an area that we added, and as part of the recertification process, it is every 3 years. So we've recertified twice. We just completed it this spring. So it's the first recertification, they come out. You can choose to either do a case study or a site visit, and with that you update all of your documentation as well. But the first time around was a case study. A site visit. I'm sorry. They came out, rode all 3 golf courses. We're very impressed with what we had going on, the Bluebird stuff, some of our nesting boxes, our natural areas, and then this past year we presented case studies. So I think Tokwa and Kahidi did a butterfly garden, and we did our mallard nesting tubes that we've got on a few holes.
Right.
So the next time around will be a site visit in 2027, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's been great, and again, it's the right thing to do on a golf course. You don't need to mow and maintain everything and fertilize everything and water everything. So
Without a doubt. And to really frame this and wrap this up, state of Tennessee has 287 golf courses. There are how many in the state of Tennessee that are Audubon certified?
17.
And in East Tennessee, how many are
In
there
East
certified?
Tennessee, there's a total of 7, 3 of which are right here in Tellico Village.
Right.
The other 4, there are 2 in Kingsport.
Mm-hmm.
There's one down by Chattanooga, which is a state park, and one Wild Laurel out in
Right.
Townsend. And
So
that's
this
it.
is not only for Tellico Village, but this is for the Knoxville region, for the East Tennessee mountain range. This affects everything and everybody.
Yeah.
This is a
Absolutely.
big deal.
Yeah.
And at risk of ending up on a golf talk blooper reel, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you
Yep.
for this and for the succession of keeping this active. This is critically important to Tellico Village and to the ecology of this area.
Absolutely.
Yes, we want to be good stewards of our environment, and I can't say enough about the cooperation and support from the golf operations and from the community. Everybody that got involved said, what can we do next?
Right.
And it was a very easy project to lead
Yep.
because there was such support for it.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks, Chuck.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Pat.
Thank you, Chuck, for joining us today on Golf Talk. Very good information. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Wells. And thank you to the audience for watching. We appreciate your comments, and we hope that you would subscribe to the Tellico Village Network and join us again next month.